Hey, this is Dim. Thanks for joining me on another video. Today we're going to talk about a really interesting topic, a really important topic, which is getting out of your own way. And you may find, depending on where you are in your journey, your own worst enemy is you. You know, sometimes we all know what to do in terms of what to say in that networking opportunity, how we need to show up in our work meeting, how we need to manage our staff or interact with our employees, how we need to operate in our personal, in our home relationships. But often it's us. We do something that we regret. We get in our own way. And this video is going to help you understand, number one, the ways we get in our own way, and number two, how we can start to get out of our own way. Because, you know, the way Tony Robbins puts it, 80% of success is not strategy, it's psychology. Only 20% is strategy. 80% is just having the right mindset and the right psychological tools so that you're out of your own way, and then you can do what you're supposed to do consistently. You can show up, and the things that are stopping you from showing up, you've learned how to clear them. So I'm going to use a funny story to explain the 4 facets of how we actually get in our own way. And then I'm going to give you an exposure on how we can start to get out of our own way. So here's a true story. Here's a true Western Sydney story of getting in our own way. I'm 24 years old. I'm sitting in a cafe, and I'm saving up to buy an investment property. At that time, I had saved up $40,000, and I was earning 60 grand a year. Was saving 20 grand a year, and basically my plan was to spend one more year saving, so I had 60 grand, and then with that 60 grand I would use it to put towards my first property. Anyway, I'm sitting in this cafe, and lo and behold, in that cafe I see someone walking up to the counter, and this guy is actually a famous property mogul in Australia. The guy, I can't say his name, he's got about 300 properties to his name. He's a buyer's agent, so he helps other people buy properties. And he's a young guy at the time. I think I was 24, and I think he was only like 32. You know, he's a young guy. And, you know, drives a Bentley and has a, you know, big mansion. And he was the, you know, young rich guy. Also came from Western Sydney. So came from nothing. He bought his first property when he was 18. And I've seen him on Sunrise and on the morning show. And I've seen him on all this stuff. So I'm like, whoa, you know, I was like starstruck. So here's the first thing I offer you. If you were in a situation like this, where you saw someone that for you idolized, or you were really impressed by, or you were somewhat starstruck by, would you go up and introduce yourself to them? Think about it. Think about situations. Sometimes it's not even, you can think about some executives, blah, 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 at work, or you can think of some just gorgeous, you know, member of a sex that you're attracted to. Have you gone up and approached that person if they have intimidating beauty around them? Most likely, in those moments where there's nerves coming up and we know we should go up and approach, we usually somehow find an excuse not to do it. That is a basic level of us getting in our own way. The opportunity's there on the table and we don't take it. It's nuts. You know, that approach anxiety. So the old version of me definitely would not have had the guts to approach. But for me at that point, I'm like, no, look, I actually had a friend in the army showed a very positive example to me. I remember there was this really, he was like a major or something, like, you know, major general or something like that. And he was really impressive, really intimidating. And we were at this officers networking thing. And I remember one of my boys, my army boys, who was actually more junior to me. I remember like seeing that major general and being like, oh no, I'm not going to go talk to him. He's blah, blah, blah. And I remember my friend just goes straight up to him and he goes, hey, I'd just like to introduce you to myself. This is my name. Yeah, just wanted to make an introduction. And I was like, man, that was impressive. You know, like, because he just, that's what he just wanted to make an introduction, and he believed that was valuable enough for him to go up and say hi. And man, that was an amazing example. And so that's what I did. I was sitting there in that cafe and I saw this property mogul go up to the counter, and I went up to him and I'm like, hey man, my name's Dim. I just wanted to introduce myself to you. My plan is to buy a property from you from a year from now. I've saved up 40,000. It's going to take me another year to get 20,000. But I just wanted to introduce myself to you, and you could tell he was impressed that I came to, took the initiative to do that. And then we started talking, and then he turned over and beckoned someone else in the cafe to come to him. And that person was actually his finance manager. And he's like, hey, this is Dim, blah, 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 blah. Hey, what do you think about giving Dim the Newcastle property to the finance manager? And the finance manager's like, yeah, well, it's 220,000, it'd be good to get him on a 20% deposit. So he'll need 60,000 all up. And I was like, and here I am going, yeah, that's what I thought. I need 60,000 or 40,000. It's going to take me another year. Like, don't worry about it. That was me, right? That's what I'm thinking. But then I saw something which changed my life. That property mogul, he's like, yep, all right, yep, we need 20,000. Cool, got it. Well, Dim, how much do you earn per month? And I'm like, 3,500 a month. And he's like, okay, cool. So look, we can get a 2-month settlement. I'm sure we can do that. And then that'll get us 7K. Cool. All right. Dim, have you done your tax return yet? And I'm like, no. And he's like, how much would you get from your tax? I'm like, around 4,000. He's like, cool. So that's 7,000 plus 4,000. Cool. 11,000. No problem. Yep. All right. Well, with this expense right here, and he basically broke up the 20,000 that I didn't have into what I needed and when I needed it. What are the different parts and when I need it? And he goes, cool, okay, so you got 11,000 here. Now with this part, what we can do is we can, he basically, I'm just trying to remember what he said, but it was like, with this 5,000, what we can do is we can, there's a new credit card out now, and it has a 36-month interest-free period. So if you put this 5,000 on the credit card, you buy this part with the credit card, you transfer it to a balance transferred credit card for 36 months interest free. You can pay it off over 3 years, right? And just like this, in the space of about 10 seconds, he was just like, cool, 3.5 here, 3.5 there, 4,000 here, 5,000 from here. And in the space of 10 seconds, I literally just watched this guy pluck 20,000 out of thin air. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, yeah, cool. What do you think of that plan, Dim? But here's the other thing. He's like, and let me see if I can negotiate the property down. I think he negotiated down 10,000 from it. That's how we made up the extra bit, And I think he put something else on the payment plan, something like that. And you just see him just look at it going, yep, it can be done. Here's how we're going to break it down. Here's what we can do with each of the different components. And he just sorted it out. And I was just completely mind blown because I'm like, here I am thinking it would take me another year to get that money. And this guy just found it in 10 seconds, literally. And so here's actually the first way we get in our own way. It's with our own blind spots. Because you can see, if I just sat there with my own echo chamber, and get this, man, there are so many guys, I don't know if it's a guy thing or whatever it is, but so many guys want to be lone wolves. I actually don't get why. Maybe they're afraid of people seeing them as a failure and people think they're not worth it. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what I suspect. But that actually ends up being a massive self-sabotage thing. Because we end up staying in our own echo chamber of BS, our own set of belief systems. Why, you meet people who are really well traveled and you sense this maturity about them is because they've gotten out of their comfort zone and they've opened up and connected with different types of people and seen different types of living and different ways of thinking, and their worldview has become much bigger and much more expansive. So that's the first thing I offer you, my dear friend. It's how much are you just living in your own BS echo chamber, and how much are you actively, sharing your goals with people that you trust, and people that can give you different perspectives from your own. So you can see what you're missing and you can see the bigger picture. A really wonderful friend of mine to this day, like he's one of my best friends. When I talk to him about the way I run my business, he thinks I'm a dropkick. You know, like even though I'm doing really well and people look up to me for what I've done in a way, what I like about him is he's got such a radically different view on how to do things that like it helps me see what I can't see. Like it helps me see my blind spots. Why I pay, see the coach that I get coached by, she makes $100,000 a month, and I pay her $30,000 to get coached by her. Now, what I like about having that engagement with her is that she helps me see what I can't see. She stretches my mind and helps me see things in a different way. So that's the first one. Are you even able to see your own blind spots? And the answer is usually no. So that's the first layer, right? And when I went and approached that property mogul and put it out there as opposed to keeping it to myself, it gave me the opportunity to get someone else's perspective on how that 20K can be done. Because up until that point, I had just stuck with my own guys, my own community, and the sentiment was the same. Okay, the way you save the 20 grand is you just work for another year and you get it that way. But then this guy was from a whole different vibration, right? So that's the first one, blind spots, right? There's 4 layers of how we get in our own way. Here's the second layer. It's our habits. Now, to explain habits, here's what, I'm just going to give you another story real quick. I have a really wonderful client, one of my favorite clients. When he first came to me, this is 3 years ago now, he's this really flashy sales exec. And if you've seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street, he's done those things where, like, you know how Jordan Belfort's like at the front in front of all the people and then he like rallies up the crowd. He's done those like sales rally things. Like he's like this head of sales type of person. Anyway, he comes to me and in confidence, he's like, hey man, basically what's been happening with me is like I have 6 months where I have this great energy and I'm buzzing and I'm feeling really good. But then I seem to have 6 months afterwards where I like crash. And it's so funny because I used to have something similar, and they actually call it seasonal affective disorder, where you seem to be really happy in summer, really depressed in winter. They even call that the winter blues. See, one thing you realize is actually, in a way, that's actually an emotion, that's a energetic and emotional pattern. What I helped unpack with him was actually the reason for that pattern. Because, by the way, when there's times where he would get flat and kind of depressed, he would lose his self-confidence, he wouldn't show up, so his consistency would suffer. And so while he'd have 6 months where he'd do well, the other 6 months, it didn't make it go undone, but it kind of killed the momentum that he was building. So that's how he was getting in his own way. And here's how he really was getting in his own way. Guess what was causing the crash in winter? It was that in summer, he was irresponsible with his energy. He wasn't taking time during that peak season to rest, to take it easy, to chill, to take some time for slow breathing, to sleep well, to look after himself. He was in the illusion that he could go 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time, and we can't. And so if you're someone who has those peaks and troughs of energy, it's probably because in those peaks of energy, you're irresponsibly using it. You're probably not looking after yourself. We're probably not dotting the T's and crossing the I's. Even like if you're from sales and you're watching this, I can tell you usually when we're in the feast, you go through the roller coaster of feast and famine. That's what they call it in sales. When you're in the feast, are you dotting your T's and are you crossing your T's and dotting your I's? Are you making sure you're being diligent, you're nurturing your sales? Are you looking after yourself? Or do you kind of get lost in the high? Because if you get lost in the high, that's what's going to cause the crash. That's an example of a pattern. I had another guy who's a fighter, and he told me he used to be buzzing with motivation. Everything was great, but then he got this injury, and then he just like lost all his motivation and plateaued. Guess why that happened? like that in the lead up to that injury, he was getting real cocky. He was getting sloppy. He wasn't taking care of his form. He wasn't being grounded. And after a certain point, the universe has to give you a slap to bring you back home to the ground. And that's not an excuse to lose your motivation. It's actually the universe trying to help you become more of a steady individual, more grounded. You want to be aspirational but grounded. That's a pattern. Another pattern can be as simple as, for example, I used to really stutter when I spoke because I was lacking the self-confidence in myself to actually talk about something I'm really good at. Like, I'm really good at being a coach, but I still was scared of like what other people would think of me if I, went out there on YouTube and actually allowed myself to be an authority. But the truth is, I've got like over 200 clients who have like really helped and changed their life and helped them make all this money and be real fulfilled. And at a certain point, I think it was my wife who came along, my fiance who came along and was like, Dim, whose permission are you waiting for? The success is there on the table, as in like the proof is on the table that you're good at this. Why are you playing small? And that manifested as a pattern of me kind of stuttering when I spoke, because I was trying to appease people, and I'm like, man, not enough. So these are ways we get in our own way, right? And as I said, I'm just giving you an exposure to different ways, and then we're going to finish this video talking about how you can start to change this. So top layer was blind spots. How you don't even know you're getting in your own way. And the way to address that is to connect to different mentors, to different people who can give you different ways of thinking, and definitely connecting with people who've actually got the results that you want. Because where I grew up in Western Sydney, most people did not have the results that I wanted. So there's really no point me searching for their opinions, because they're just going to tell me their strategies for getting their results, but I want different results, right? So I had to go out of my way to find mentors and coaches and things like that who could give me a different perspective and a different strategy. And that's why I do, even after like what is it, 8 years of immersing in personal development, doing all these studies, $100,000 in private education in psychology. That's why I do this now, right? 3 years of coaching guys full time, 5 years in total, or 6. About 6 years in total coaching guys, right? Like, that's why I do this channel, because I want to show you like a different perspective that was not, I didn't have YouTube when I was growing up to get. So anyway, first layer, blind spots. So find people that can help you see your blind spots. Second layer is your patterns. What habits do you have? Are you irresponsible with your energy? Do you not show up when you need to? Like, what are the habits that you personally have? Do you like stay up late when you shouldn't, because you need to show up properly the next day? Do you not put in the study or the preparation that you should? Because if you did, it'll actually help you in your career. Like, what's your habits that kind of cause the self-sabotage? A lot of guys have the bad Friday night, Saturday night habits. I don't want to say them on camera, but you know what they are, right? What are your bad habits that are causing you to just plateau? Because, by the way, the reason you might be doing them is because it's like, it helps you cope. And I'm going to show you how to switch from coping to thriving. So let's move on to the layers 3 and 4. Layer 3 is your beliefs. Your belief, so for example, if you have a belief that work, the only way to go about work is you have to work around the clock all the time, and you basically have to live for the weekend, then you may have seen another video of mine where I told everyone to look around for blue, look everywhere for blue that they could find, and then tell me what they thought they saw that was gold, right? Like, here's the thing: if you have a belief that the only way to work and be a boss is like you have to work around the clock and then you work for the weekend, then you're just going to find more and more evidence. It's called confirmation bias of that belief. But the truth is, there's so many different ways to approach your work day. So what you want to do is find someone that you trust that can help you see, can you adopt better and more healthy beliefs that will support you getting to your goals. And we spoke about goals in our video about knowing yourself, right? But basically, when you understand what bigger goal you're working towards, and if you are working towards more health, more wealth, and more happiness, I'm not sure if working around the clock all the time is actually going to lead you there, or it's going to lead you to just plateau. Only you will know, right? So that's beliefs. Another belief, for example, I'll tell you with me, given I grew up in the western suburbs, one of my beliefs was all the people in the eastern suburbs were snobs. Another belief of mine I had were rich people were snobs, and rich people were manipulative and blah, 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 blah. See, the thing is, when you have beliefs like that, it really does block you from pursuing wealth yourself, or making certain connections yourself. If you're hampered down by beliefs that don't really serve you. What I'll do in future videos is start to talk about how you can debunk beliefs like this. But I will say this, as a base layer, ask yourself, are you polarized in certain beliefs? For example, I want you to think about someone who's, for example, you can think it there's an image that you can probably find in Google Images. It's basically a guy, a rich banker on Wall Street, and he's lighting his cigar by lighting money on fire, and he's lit money on fire to light a cigar. So when you think of that image of a rich banker with a cigar in his mouth lighting money on fire to light a cigar, what kind of judgments come to your mind? Right? I'll give you another one, right? Just think about it. I'm going to give you one more and then we'll wrap them both up. What kind of judgments come to your mind when you think about Donald Trump, for example? And I'm not trying to get political. I'm not talking I'm more talking about the comical Donald Trump as opposed to the politics side, right? What beliefs come to your mind when it comes? Because let me show you this. I often have clients who tell me, man, they hate Donald Trump. And I say, well, okay, why do you hate Donald Trump? And I'm not saying I voted for Trump. I live in Australia, right? So this is not political. This is just a funny way to explain a point. When I ask these guys, why do you not like Donald Trump? They'll say, well, because he's stupid. That's what they'll say. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of stupid people out there. So why is it that it's Donald Trump that you don't like? And then they'll be like, well, he's stupid and he's loud. And so I ask them, is it really that he's stupid that's annoying you? Or is it that he's loud? Because typically, most of the people who get triggered by Donald Trump are people who think they're smart, but lack the confidence to speak up. Because there's people in the world who are real smart but they're to their books or they're quiet. And then they look at someone who has the guts to speak up, and instead of thinking about the fact that guy can speak up, they're like, well, they're judging him on his intellect. But hey, is it really his intellect that's the problem? Or is it the fact that he has the guts to speak up and you don't? Right? In the same way, when you think of that rich banker on Wall Street, yeah, I'm sure you can think of things that he's doing wrong. But what are your beliefs about making money? Do you believe it's going to make you look greedy? Do you believe it's going to make you look snobby or selfish? Because guess what? If you have those beliefs in there, it's probably going to get in your way of making it. For me, because the truth is this, right? The truth is, we're all selfish, even if we don't think we are. We're all greedy, even if we don't think we are, right? And you may think, oh, no, I'm not selfish. But then look at different areas of your life. Maybe it's maybe you're really giving to the outside world, to your friends and to your colleagues, but then to your parents, you don't really help them, and your family, you don't really help them, and you're a bit selfish there. Or maybe you're really helpful with your family in your family life, and you're really selfless in your family life, but when it comes to maybe certain work things, maybe you've kept certain things to yourself at work because you're trying to look after yourself and your goals, and you're being a bit selfish there. Or maybe you're being really good at work and really good in family, but maybe with certain friends you don't share with them your goals or whatever, and you're being selfish in that regard. Get this, man. If I was to take you with me to a party and say, hey, this is my friend, he is completely selfless. He's 100% selfless as a guy. And he always tells the truth. He never lies. He's always kind. He's never been cruel. He's always up. He's never down. He's always cheery. He's never getting upset. Would you be comfortable with me introducing you that way? No, right? Because you know it's impossible for you to live up to a standard where you're always selfless, where you're always happy, not sad, where you're always giving, not taking, where you're always telling the truth and not like lying. Like, you know, like no human being is actually one-sided, right? And if you have beliefs that rich people are a certain way, it's just you judging parts in yourself that you haven't learned how to own. Because most guys who, for example, guys who are people pleasers end up being the angriest guys. Because basically they're pleasing people, hoping that those people will do good back to them, but often they don't. Often they get overlooked, and they're like, oh no, it's okay that I'm getting overlooked, it's okay. But time goes on and they feel a little bit sad and disappointed because here they are doing the right thing by all these people, and they're not really receiving as they should, right? So it's about us going, hey, you know what? What's really important to me? And that for you might be wealth building and family and nature. Look, for me, what's really important to me is like presence. Presence meaning like, you know, just being in nature, being with my fiance, being with my good friends, being at the beach, like just really appreciating life as much as I can. Another one is coaching and contribution. And another one is wealth building. And you can believe that in order for me to prioritize those things in my life, in a way I have to be selfish and fill my own cup first and do those things, because I know that by me filling my own cup first, it's going to make me a happier person, and that's going to give me more to give with. But I bet you that there's people out there who judge me because I do prioritize what I value instead of subordinating to their values. But you know what? Me prioritizing what I value leads me to be a happier person. And when I'm a happier person, I can give more and be a more joyful person to the rest of society, right? So like why I go on that tangent is like, if you've got beliefs about certain things, that certain things can't, like for example, that rich people are all snobs, that is definitely going to get in your way, right? It's going to get in your way of like connecting with those people and creating opportunities for yourself. So what you want to do is or maybe you have beliefs that you're just not good enough. Maybe you have beliefs that you don't have that much to give. Well, of course that's get in your way, right? Of course that's going to get in your way. So you've got to, the first step of debunking this stuff is getting conscious about what those beliefs are. That's why I spent a bit of extra time on this. You want to get conscious to what actually those beliefs are. Because if those beliefs are there, that you can believe that they're going to be showing up subconsciously in your life, sabotaging you. When you can at least become conscious of your patterns, then you can make corrective actions to respond to them. Right? So if you know that, oh, you know what, I have a belief that I'm not good enough. Like step one is maybe talk to someone, whether it's a mentor or to a friend who you trust, and get their help for you to realize, no, you know what, you are good enough. You are a great person. You deserve to have great self-worth. You deserve to, like really show up, in the areas that you're really passionate about. You've got a lot to give. You want to have that honest conversation with whomever, so you can debunk and know at least logically that those beliefs that are limiting you are BS. Once you can at least logically know that, then when they're showing up in real life, you can go, no, that's BS. the truth is this. So obviously when you do actual coaching and things like that, you go way deeper and you do like root cause removal and root cause resolution of limiting beliefs. But as I said, I just want to give you an exposure to what you can do here at home today. So top layer, blind spots. Second layer, habits. Third layer, beliefs. Here's the fourth layer. The fourth layer is your own identity. The biggest driving force for us and how we show up and how we get in our own way is identity. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say that you saw in front of you someone dropped a wallet and you can see that the wallet has $100,000 in it. And you can see that person who's dropped it, they have no idea, they're about to get on a train or something. Would you take that wallet, or would you call out to them and make sure the wallet got back to them? I'm very sure you will find a way to get that wallet back to them, right? Like you wouldn't take the money. Why is that? It's because you know in part of your identity that you're not a thief. So regardless of if there's $100,000 there just offered to you, you wouldn't take it because you know you're not a thief. In the same way, other parts of your identity could be, maybe I'm not as good as these other team members. If you have a sense of identity that you're not as good as other people, how do you think that affects your confidence when you show up, the way you show up? Do you think you're going to show up to be your best self if you think that you don't really deserve to be in that room, or you're not really good enough as those other people? Because if at some core level you believe that you're not good enough, if at some core level you don't believe that you deserve to be there, it changes the way you show up. And if you're wondering why you don't be consistent about going for your goals, it's probably because you've been worried about going for tactic instead of addressing these fundamentals, like such as your sense of yourself, your identity of yourself. Contrast that with Kanye, for example, who believed like it was worth making a documentary of him when he was 20 years old, because he believed with all his heart he's going to be he is a mogul who's meant to revolutionize hip hop or culture. He believed that so strongly. Guess what happens when you believe that? Like, think about all those, if you've seen that documentary on Netflix, like all those rejections that happen, everything that happens, he just pushes through, he keeps finding a way, he doesn't let it get to him too bad. Everything that happens, he has like a guiding belief that no, I'm a mogul, I'm going to find my way. It changes everything. So that's the bottom layer, identity. So I really hope that you got something out of this video, on the topic of getting out of your own way. It's a big topic, but it's what most of us do. Most people on YouTube, they're trying to sell you like all of these hacks, these productivity hacks. It's like putting an engine onto a plane that's fundamentally flawed if you don't get the fundamentals right. So I really encourage you, those 5 principles of a wealthy mind. Know yourself, know your values, know your purpose, know your mission. And if you don't know it, figure it out now. And there's a video that I've put which is about that. Getting out of your own way, which is this video. The next one's going to be about executing effectively. The next one's going to be about adaptation. And the last one will be about replenishment. And I'll keep making more videos unpacking these, the subcomponents of all this stuff. I really hope you enjoyed. Please, let's share the wealth. I'm wishing you more wealth, but let's wish everyone more wealth. So if you believe you got value out of this video, please share it with your friends and whomever you believe it can be interested, because a boat party is a lot more funner if we're all on it together. So please share it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.